All right, this is 6.4 on page 452. And we're going to begin with number 9. Number 9 is -3/5, comma, -4/5. And we're asking, what is it asking? Sine. We want the sine of t, the cosine of t, and the tan of t. All right. Well, do you remember what I said? This is x, y, cosine, sine. We already know what the cosine is. -3/5. If I drew it on the unit circle, they're both negative, so it's in quadrant 3. So this is -3. That's -4. It's a 3, 4, 5. The sine, -4/5. The tan is opposite over adjacent. Negative over negative is positive. I was expecting the tangent to be positive in the in this quadrant. So the tan is 4/3. Got it? Now number 11. Okay, number 11. All right, identify an angle between, there's the angle. So it's in the first or the second quadrant that is coterminal with this angle. So we want it in quadrants 1 or 2, okay? Q1 or Q2. 11 is 13 pi over 6. Well, I know 12 pi over 6 makes one complete rotation. If I go another 6, I'm up to 13 pi over 6. So, and that puts me in quadrant 1. So I just subtract one whole rotation and I get to pi over 6. And that is in fact an angle that is okay, pi over 6. I didn't answer the second question. So now we want the sine of t and the cosine of t. They're both going to be positive because they're in the first quadrant. Okay, remember, this cosine counts down from 1, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right? The sine counts up. All right, that's that first angle. We go from 0 to pi over 6 to pi over 4 to pi over 3 to pi over 2. That's that first angle there. All right, so the sine counts up from 0 to 1, so it's 1/2, and we're in the first quadrant. The cosine counts down from 1, 3, so that's square root of 3 over 2. 13 says 16 pi. Well, that's going to land you at 0. Because, all right, so 13 is 16 pi. I got to use a different color. When I divide that by 2, that goes around, by 2 pi rather, that goes around 8 complete times. All right, so we're landing back at 0. So you just need to know, so it's 0. So the radians is 0. Got it? Now, the sine starts at 0 and counts up, so it's 0. The cosine starts at 1 and counts down. So that's number, I think that's 15, not 13. No, that's 13. That is 13. All right, 15. 15 says, use your calculator in radian mode to do the sine of 7 pi over 5, the cosine 7 pi over 5, and the tan of 7 pi over 5. Use the signs of the functions to identify the quadrant. Well, you should already know the quadrant, right? Because it's a whole pi and another 2/5, which is not quite a half. So I'm expecting quadrant 3, okay? All right, so let me turn my calculator on. You go to mode, and look, it's the third one down. Let's see if I can follow this. You go, I'm in mode, there's radian. I'm gonna hit enter, and now radian is highlighted, all right? I'm quitting out of that. And I'm just gonna do the sine of 7 pi is the up arrow right here, the carrot top, divided by 5. I'm going to close it. That's all I'm putting in. And yes, it's negative 0.9511. I'm do the same thing with the cosine. 7 pi divided by 5. I'm expecting it to be negative as well. Negative 0.3090. Do the same thing with the tangent. Tan of 7 pi divided by 5. I'm expecting it to be positive. 3.0777, quadrant 3. Probably the same thing with 17, but it's negative 14. So 17 is negative 14 pi over 9. 17, negative 14 pi over 9. Okay, if I take a whole pi away, so I'm rotating backwards, all right? So that's negative 9 pi over 9. I got to go a whole nother 9, but that only leaves me 5/9, which is a little, little over a half. So I'm expecting it to be in quadrant 1. I'm expecting all of them to be positive, all right? So the sine, the cosine, the tangent of negative 14 pi over 9, negative 14 pi over 9, negative 14 pi over 9. All right, the sine of negative 14 pi, I did 6, 9. All right, see, that's what I did. All right, so it is 0.9848. I was expecting it to be pretty close to the 1 because it's just a fifth beyond that half. The cosine is probably going to be closer to 0, negative 14 pi over 9. It's 0.1736. The tan, negative, make sure I put negative in, 14 pi divided by 9, 5.6713. All right, that's all I did, my calculator. All right, numbers 30 through 35. 30. Okay. Come on. Find the exact value without using a, okay. So we want the sine, the cosine, and the tangent. Number 31 is 7 pi over 3. I'm probably looking at pi over 3 in quadrant 1, but the sign, S-I-G-N, positive or negative, will be based on what quadrant it's in. I think they're on quadrant 1, right? Because we're going to go all the way 2 pi around, which is 6 pi over 3, and another third. So they're all going to be positive, all right? So we're looking at the pi over 3. The sign counts up from 0. Remember, pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3. All right, from 0 to 1, 2, 3. So it's the square root of 3 over 2. Then this has to be 1/2. This is the sine over the cosine, which is just the square root of 3. It would be the square root of 3 over 2 over 1/2. Had the same denominator. It's square root of 3. All right, 33. 33 is 11 pi over 4. I'm probably looking at pi over 4, which, remember, square root of 2 over 2, but I got to figure out what quadrant it's in. All the way around is 8 pi over 2. So if I take 11 pi over 2, subtract that, what do I end up with? 3, 4, Paula. 4. Good, Gunga Munga. How many times have I done this? 4. Then I end up with 3 pi over 4. And so that's going to be not quite all the way to pi. So we're going to go all the way around, and then we're going to end up in quadrant 2. Not all the way to pi, all right? But I'm thinking square root of 2 over 2. And they're both going to be the same, the sine and the cosine. The tan is going to be 1. So it's all students only. The sine is going to be positive. So the sine is square root of 2 over 2. The cosine, negative square root of 2 over 2. Tan is sine over cosine. They're the same. It's negative 1. 35 is negative 3/2 pi. Negative 3 pi over 2. That's going right there because we go 0, negative pi over 2, negative pi, negative 3/2 pi. Right, so it's right here. That's, remember we start 0, we start at 1, 0 rather. 1, 0. That's the cosine. Sine counts up. Then we go here and we're at 0, 1. That's the cosine. Sine. The sine is 1. The cosine is 0. Because the cosine is 0, the tangent rather, is undefined. All right? Got to think about quadrant. Where are we on the unit circle? All right, 49. Give a single number. All right, 49. 49 is the cosine of pi over 2. All right, that's right here, right? If I'm thinking that's cosine, it's 0, 1, Paula. We go from 1, 0 to 0, 1, cosine, sine, to negative 1, 0, to 0, negative 1, all right? I'm going 49. And this is multiplied times the cosine pi over 4 minus the sine of pi over 2 times the sine of pi over 4. All right, the cosine of pi over 2 is 0 times that square root of 2 over 2. It doesn't matter because it's 0. Minus the sine of pi over 2, 1 times square root of 2 over 2. And when you multiply that out, that's just 0 minus square root of 2 over 2, which is negative square root of 2 over 2. That's 49, 51. I hope I did 49. Okay, 51. Okay, I'll leave that up. 51, last problem, is sine 3 pi over 4. That's quadrant 2. times the cosine, 5 pi over 6. That's also quadrant 2, minus cosine 3 pi over 4 times the sine of 5 pi over 6. So this one's going to be positive, negative, negative, positive. For my 3 pi over 4, I'm thinking pi over 4 in the first quadrant. So that's square root of 2 over 2 times a negative number, 5 pi over 6. I'm thinking pi over 6, that's the first one. It counts down, so it's square root of 3 over 2, but it's negative. Square root of 3 over 2 minus, now this is going to be, this is pi over 4 in quadrant 1, right? I'm only memorizing quadrant 1, and I just know when it has a 4 in the denominator, it's square root of 2 over 2, if it's cosine or sine. But it's negative because it's in quadrant 2, square root of 2 over 2. The sine counts up. That's that first one, 0, pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3 to pi over 2. So that's positive. It's 1/2. So what? That's negative square root of 6 over 4. We're multiplying, not adding, right? Minus, so it's going to be plus square root of 2 over 4, and you leave it like that.